Welcome, everyone. So today I am taking a little risk. I'm a little nervous, but I think it's good to sometimes take those risks and feel proud of yourself. So today I have quotes from Forrest Gump. Um, I saw the movie and it inspired me so much years ago. My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get, Forrest. My mom always said, you've got to put the past behind you before you can move on, Forrest. What's normal, anyways, Forrest? I never thanked you for saving my life, Lieutenant Dan. Don't ever let anybody tell you they're better than you, Mrs. Gump. Now, Mama said there's only so much fortune a man really needs, and the rest is just for showing off, Forrest. My mom always told me that miracles happen every day. Some people don't think so, but they do. Forrest Gump. Listen, you promised me something, okay? Just if you're ever in trouble, don't be brave. You just run, okay? Just run away. Jenny Curran. And last, anyway, like I was saying, shrimp is the fruit of the sea. You can barbecue it, boil it, bake it, saute it. There's shrimp kebab, shrimp creole, shrimp gumbo, pan fried, deep fried, stir fried. There's pineapple shrimp, lemon shrimp, coconut shrimp, pepper shrimp, shrimp soup, shrimp stew, shrimp salad, shrimp and potatoes, shrimp burger, shrimp sandwich. That's about it, Bubba. And I these quotes pulled to me because it just I felt was a lot of lessons in life. Forrest grew up with a brace and on his leg, and his mom was there to support him and encourage him and tell him he could do anything he wanted, and he was able to run and serve in the military. He was kind and good. He saved a life. His lieutenant was able to thank him for saving his life, and sometimes we forget to thank others, and we should do that before it's too late, and usually it's not too late. And I just feel that with the shrimp. Shrimp are my favorite food, and I like all the possibilities. And I feel like in life we should splurge sometimes, and we deserve to choose different things in life, like different shrimp. So, thank you for your time today.
Good morning, everyone. I'm looking my messy here. It's nice to be here. It's nice to see all of you. Um, Thank you for being our fearless leader today.
Yeah.
And Georgia, thank you for those wonderful quotes. I happen to be a Tom Hanks fan, so you just made my day. I've got chills. Just thinking about it. So, thank you so much. So, I arrived at work on Thursday morning, having ridden a bus from Willowbrook to Port Authority in Manhattan, and then walking to my office in the Empire State Building. On the bus, I put on my earbuds and began listening to the Bobby Bones country music show on iHeart Country Radio. Yes, I am a country music fan, but that hasn't always been the case. When I reached my desk, I continued to listen to the music that was being played, and for some reason I realized that the sound of the music was making me happy, so much so that I didn't want to turn it off. I wondered how I could get my heavy workload done while continuing to listen. I then found myself humming along and realized I was going to disturb my coworkers, so I sadly turned the music off. Shortly thereafter, a nearby colleague, a senior vice president, in fact, was talking so loudly on his phone that I couldn't concentrate. I put on my headset and cranked up a relaxing Disney music medley, piano, that I regularly listen to, and I could once again focus on my work. I've come to learn that piano music soothes me, and as long as there are no words, I found that I can concentrate better with calming music in the background. Guess you know by now that the topic of my talk today is music. In fact, the very thought of music makes me smile. I asked my AI companion why this is the case, and here is what they said. Music has a magical way of bypassing logic and going straight for the soul. Music taps into memories, feelings, and experiences. A familiar melody might remind you of a joyful moment, a loved one, or even just a time when life felt easier. Rhythms and harmonies can trigger the release of dopamine, the brain's feel good chemical. It's like your body is giving a little cheer. Lyrics can give voice to things we find hard to say. Hearing someone articulate a feeling you've had but couldn't express can be affirming and comforting. Upbeat songs with catchy beats engage our motor systems. Kind of like the Cat Stevens song I just played. Even a toe tap, and I was tapping my toes, or a head bob can lift our spirits. Singing along at concerts, dancing with friends, or even belting out karaoke makes us feel part of something. Shared musical experience foster joy and belonging. I've been to many, but not too many, concerts thus far in my life. As I mentioned earlier, I am currently a country music fan, dating back to the late 90s and early 2000s, when artists like Tim McGraw and his lovely wife, Faith Hill, Toby Keith, God rest his soul, Kenny Chesney, Keith Urban, Miranda Lambert, Leanne Womack, and the infamous Taylor Swift. I have two older sisters, including Jackie, who is 9 years older than me, and she shaped my musical interests when I was young. I guess you could say that I come from a musical family, since Mom and Jackie played baby grand piano in our living room that Uncle Joe, Mom's brother, tuned. I remember my grandfather, Mom's dad, playing the ukulele, and his sister, my great Aunt Mary, who was stricken with polio at age 7 and confined to a wheelchair for the rest of her life, earned a living as a piano teacher. Fun fact, Aunt Mary, who lived with her mother, sister, and brother in law in New York, used to come to visit our family in New Jersey for a week every year, and she would provide piano lessons to my middle sister, Penny, and me. The expectation was that we would practice during the remaining 51 weeks. So that was almost never the case. I never learned to read music, and I could play a few songs other than Chopsticks by memory. Back to Jackie. She grew up in the 1950s and 60s, so you guessed it, she was a huge Beatles fan. I remember sitting with her in our Cupsaw Lake basement, listening to music from the transistor radio, feeling like I was all that and then some. My favorite Beatles song was and is If I Fell, and I probably had a crush on Paul McCartney since he is so handsome. My family also had a high fidelity stereo in our living room. In fact, I seem to recall that it was an RCA Victor model, and that served as a piece of furniture. Being a child of the 60s, I took it for granted, though I'm sure my parents were very proud to have this elegant sound system. We had a few albums, LPs, a few dozen actually. I remember dusting them again and again. I mostly remember, though, the Christmas albums with songs sung by Andy Williams, Perry Como, Bing Crosby, and Kate Smith. My sister Penny was somewhat of a fan of the Osmond family, and I believe she secretly had a crush on Donnie, but who didn't? However, I was all about the Partridge family, and I very obviously had a crush on David Cassidy. Again, who didn't? I had all the albums produced by the Partridge family, and I'm quite sure I had posters of David hanging in my bedroom. However, as I matured, Jackie's musical influence on me once again took hold, and I have to say that my all-time favorite musician is Sweet Baby James Taylor. Um, I listened to James' albums over and over again until they were worn out. Another fun fact. Did you ever tape pennies to the stylus to help the needle stay in the groove when the records became worn out or scratched? Here's what my AI companion has to say about that. It's a classic example of it works, but at a cost. If you're dealing with skips, there are better solutions like cleaning the record, replacing the stylus, or adjusting the tone on, whatever. How about sprinkling talcum powder on LPs to fill in the scratches? Once again, AI weighs in. It's one of those vintage hacks that might have seemed clever at the time, but doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Oh well. When I listened to songs sung by James Taylor, I felt as if he had written them specifically for me. Of course, I have a favorite James Taylor song, Secret of Life. I went to my very first concert the summer before senior year in high school. You imagine my parents let me drive my friends to what was then known as the Garden State Art Center. I was only 17. I don't remember how many of us went. What I do remember is it was summertime, and my friends and I had lawn seats, while other classmates had purchased seats under the actual roof. I also remember the torrential rainstorm and heavy winds that drenched our blankets, blew away our beach chairs, and knocked out the power. We were trying to fit two people into the single covered seats of our classmates, which was possible with our skinny high school bodies. But we kept getting sent back out to the lawn and into the rain by the ushers, beanies. I also recall the moment sweet baby James, one moment, announced that the backup generators weren't working either and the concert was. I finally went to see James perform at Waterloo Village a decade later, and I got his autograph before the show. Chills. The first song he sang was The Secret of Life, and I proceeded to cry during the entire concert. My boyfriend Tom didn't know what to do with me, and I was crying so hard I was laughing at myself. I just couldn't stop. That was way before my friend AI. But now I know that music can make people cry because it taps directly into the emotional core of our brains, often bypassing logic and going straight to feeling. It's like a shortcut to the soul. People who are high in empathy or openness to experience are more likely to cry from music. Some feel sadness, others feel awe, and both can lead to tears. A study found that nearly 90% of people who have cried while listening to music, and about one third of those tears were due to awe rather than sadness. So sometimes it's not heartbreak, it's beauty that overwhelms. Incidentally, the chills that I've been talking about, the spine tingling moments, they're called frisson, like listen, but frisson. And it is linked to the release of dopamine, once again, the brain's pleasure chemical. Over the next few decades, I saw the likes of Carly Simon, Billy Joel, Elton John in the nosebleed center of Madison Square Garden, where we were the very back row. Bruce Springsteen, David Bowie, the Beach Boys, Bruce Springsteen, Chicago, Don Henley, Bruce Springsteen. I think you see where this is headed. I finally got to see James Taylor again at the PNC Arts Center, only this time I didn't cry. Once I'd gone country, I had the good fortune to see Tim and Faith in concert at Madison Square Garden. It was magical, and they were wonderful. In 2013 and 2014, I won tickets to the Z100 Jingle Ball, and I saw amazing artists like Taylor Swift, Jason Mraz, Miley Cyrus, Ariana Grande, twice, Pitbull, Selena Gomez, Maroon 5, Megan Trainor, who I love, One Republic, the list goes on. What impressed me most was the profound impact British singers have had on music, from the British invasion of the 1960s, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and the Who, the British flavor of the Monkees, thanks to Davy Jones, who Penny also had a crush on, to solo artists Paul McCartney and Sir Elton John, Queen, George Michael, The Police, Phil Collins, and the list goes on. And who doesn't love Ed Sheeran's song Perfect? That makes me want to cry too. Another song that made me cry for many years is Toby Keith's You Shouldn't Kiss Me Like This, which was my wedding song. The lyrics described how I felt the moment I fell in love with Bill, right down to the flash of light that felt like electricity or frisson. Bill wanted our first song to be White Wedding. Fortunately, Toby won out over Billy Idol. In recent years, I've had the good fortune to see several bands and solo artists perform, even during the pandemic. One fabulous show included warm-up singers Sam Hunt and the incredibly talented and adorable Hunter Hayes and spectacular Lady A. I still remember the excitement I felt when seeing these artists perform for the first time ever. Another summer, I surprised my friend Sue with tickets to see her favorite band, Train. I still remember the smile on her face when I revealed my secret. We had so much fun. Beach balls were flying everywhere, and Pat Monahan is a showman and a hottie. I saw my new favorite artist, Thomas Rhett, perform in Charleston, South Carolina in the summer of 22 under the stars at the Credit One Stadium. Like one of his many hit songs, the night was unforgettable. Later that year, I finally got to see Kenny Chesney after waiting a very long 10 years. I had tickets to see Kenny in August 2020 at MetLife Stadium. Need I say more? The concert was postponed for 2 years due to the pandemic, finally took place in August of 2022. Old Dominion, Dan and Shay, and Carly Pierce performed first, and Kenny brought the house down. It is a night I will never ever forget. I finally visited the country music capital of the world, Nashville, this past spring. It's a place you don't want to miss. While Nashville is the beating heart of country music, it also pulses with rock, blues, gospel, and pop. We learned about the town's rich musical heritage at the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum. We visited the famous RCA Studio B, where Elvis and Dolly Parton laid down many hits. It was unbelievable to feel like part of such incredible music history. We visited the Ryman Auditorium, which is known as the Mother Church of Country Music. The building was originally a church, and it once served as the home of the Grand Ole Opry. We also visited the not so new but breathtaking Grand Ole Opry, and there are no words to describe. Some of you know that Sharon and I are neighbors, and we literally ran into each other last Monday at the local food town. Sharon mentioned that she would be in Baltimore this weekend. Then she asked me if I would like to do the talk today. I'd wanted to do the talk for a long time, but I didn't know what to talk about. However, I said yes, and I intuitively knew that I would be inspired between then and now. The inspiration took shape on Friday night. I had the good fortune of seeing Thomas Rhett again. 3 years had passed, and I hadn't listened to his music as much as I used to. Something incredible happened. As the musicians began playing, the words came back to me, and the night truly was unforgettable again. It occurred to me on my long drive home that this is a phenomenon. It took me several years to remember the names of my next door neighbor's 3 daughters, and yet every word of every song came back to me in a matter of moments. So I once again sought to understand this better with the help of my AI companion, and here's what AI had to say. Music taps into emotion and repetition. Songs often stir up deep feelings and memories. Pair that with catchy melodies and repeated lyrics, and you've got a powerful memory cocktail. Emotionally charged experiences are stored more vividly in the brain. So if a song was the soundtrack to a moment, it sticks. Musical memory is stored differently. The part of the brain that processes music overlaps with areas involved in long-term memory and emotion. So even if someone struggles to recall a past event, they may still sing every word of a song associated with it. Rhythm and rhyme aid recall. Lyrics often follow predictable patterns and rhymes, which makes them easier to remember than a random paragraph of text. Embodied memory plays a role. The physical actions of singing along, dancing, and tapping to the beat help encode music more deeply in our brains. Decades later, that muscle memory can kick in like it never left. To tie my talk together with the reason we are here today, here are some closing thoughts about the spiritual nature of music. Music often invokes awe or reverence. Some feel it brings them closer to the divine, the universe, or even their own inner truth. Across cultures, music plays a central role in ceremonies and rites of passage, from births and weddings to funerals and religious worship. Music can quiet the mind, open the heart, and create moments of pure presence. What happens for me? A song can lift someone out of pain or spark a feeling that words alone can't touch. For many creators and listeners, music becomes a way to communicate what they deeply feel but cannot explain. It's like the soul is speaking in melody. Some might say music is emotional, therapeutic, or just beautifully human. Others experience it as a divine language, To me, music symbolizes joy, serenity, release, peace, and love. Music makes me a better me. Incidentally, I had Disney music in the background while I was gathering these thoughts, in case you were wondering. Thank you.